to give you the game here today on the Ramon Preston Show. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the day that the Lord has made. We are rejoicing. We are glad in it. We are super excited to have another opportunity to share some game with you, to help you properly start, structure, and scale your businesses, your ministries, your income streams, and your wealth building dreams. If you are coming on while we are live, please do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, tag Lolly Dolly everybody and let them know Prophet Ramon, the squad. We're live right here on the Ramon Preston Show, and today is going to be an amazing show because I'm going to be talking to you about how to make a post-pandemic pivot in your business, how to make a PPP, a post-pandemic pivot. And we ain't talking about no PPP loans either. We talking about how to make a PPP in terms of your post-pandemic pivot in your business. So please hit the like button, hit the share button. Make sure that you tag somebody, let them know that we're live today. And if you would be so kind, be sure to put in the comments what city you are watching me from. I love to know where you're watching us from every day on the show. And make sure that if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube page. We are pushing to get to 10,000 subscribers. So we're at about 7,200 right now. We're looking to get to 10,000 subscribers. And then next, we want to get to 100,000. Wow. So your subscriptions are appreciated. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course, I need you to follow me on YouTube as well. So welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, to the Ramon Preston Show. I am your host, Ramon Preston, and every Monday through Friday, right here, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, we show up to share information with you that we know you can use to help properly start, structure, and or scale your businesses, your ministries, if you have ministries and nonprofits, your income streams. So what we share with you on this show is information that's a reflection of my life, and it's a representation of my organization. So we have a coaching division where we provide business and financial coaching to individuals, to entrepreneurs, to startups. Our coaching encompasses training, it encompasses mentoring, it encompasses one-on-one sessions, weekly coaching calls, masterminds, workshops, all of which are designed to show you how to start your holding companies, your divisions, how to start subsidiaries or operating entities. We show you how to package and price your products and services, how to turn your ideas into products and services. We show you how to create sales processes and sales scripts and systems and for your sales and for your marketing, for your finances. We teach you entrepreneurship. We teach you financial literacy, real estate investing, and we put you in a community of people who are going to help support you and reinforce what you're learning. We also have an online training program called the Millionaire Blueprint, and it is made up of hundreds of lessons and tutorials and walkthrough videos and documents and forms to show you how to do a lot of these things as well. So whether you want to learn online at your own pace, or whether you want to add to your online training, coaching and consulting on a regular basis, we have programs, and all the information I share with you on this show is a reflection and a representation of that. So you can know without a shadow of a doubt, or you should be able to rest assured that what I'm sharing with you is not something I just copied and pasted from somebody else's website, or I went and hacked somebody's information. No, this is stuff that I live, it's stuff that I teach, it's stuff that I perpetuate in my business community. So you're in good hands. But today I want to talk to you about how to make a PPP, how to make a post-pandemic pivot in business. Like, listen, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you haven't noticed, we live in a different world. And more specifically speaking, we now live in a post-pandemic world. We all know what happened in March of 2020. So a little over 2 years ago, we were all quarantined in the USA, right? This quarantine just totally disrupted everybody's life. This whole coronavirus created this pandemic and literally a panic to where hundreds of millions of people were just thrown off. Hundreds of millions of people were just disrupted and our lives changed forever. And so now we're 2 years after the initial quarantine. We are technically, to some extent, living in, or at least we're moving into this post-pandemic world. And a lot of things for people individually, but a lot of things for people professionally have changed. So let me explain to you what some of those changes are. Certain businesses have disappeared. There are many businesses, millions of businesses that no longer exist today that existed 2 years ago. And I'm telling you, a lot of the people who are suffering outside of individuals and families, a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses and people who are in the professional space who are suffering, these people are considered to be small businesses. So if you're a small business, you got less than 500 employees, most people don't even have 5 employees. And so you might be a solopreneur, you might be an independent contractor, you might be a network marketer, you might be a real estate agent, you might be a startup company, you got your LLC, you got your EIN number, you got your articles of organization, you got your logo, your domain, you got a good, catchy name, you got your slogan, you got your shirts, you got some things going, but you really don't have the momentum to make money. Well, guess what? It is because there are some things about business and entrepreneurship you just don't understand. And I say that respectfully. And so when you get to a point to where you realize that, okay, my business is not working, we're not going to blame it all on the pandemic. We're not going to blame it all on the economic stability or instability of our communities or of our country, but we want to be able to self-evaluate and just look at ourselves and what we're doing to see what can we actually control and change in our businesses. Because there's some things you can't control. There's some things you can't change. Like we couldn't control what happened in 2020. We can't change what happened. We can't control and change what we've had to deal with in a lot of areas for the last 2 years, right? But what we can control and change is how we pivot and how we position ourselves moving forward. So you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be financially free, you want to be able to take care of your family, you want to be able to go into the marketplace, sell products and services, provide value to your community, be a blessing to people, serve the people that you know need you as customers and clients. Well, guess what? You got to be willing to pivot. I'm not going to say if you're able to pivot. You got to be willing to pivot. It don't matter if you're able to pivot. Are you willing to pivot? And if you're willing to pivot, how you pivot and what you pivot into is going to have a lot to do to determine how you are positioned in business. So even before I start getting into certain things with this, if you're in agreement with me and you know at some point you got to pivot, you might be at that point. And how do you know you're at that point? Well, let's just go through the quick test. Are you making enough money to pay your bills? Are you making enough money to finance your ideas? Are you making enough money to be full-time in your business? Are you making enough money to hire people to help you? Do you have enough resources to really start expanding and living out your dreams through your business? If any of those answers are no, and you're being honest and they're no, then guess what? That means you got to pivot. It means you got to pivot. There was a study done just within the last 2 years since the pandemic started, since the quarantine, right? There was a study done, and this was a major study on a lot of businesses in the United States of America. And what this study was based on was how the businesses that succeeded, or the businesses that made it through the pandemic, okay? There are a lot of businesses that didn't make it through the pandemic. There are a lot of businesses that have gone out of business. Now, even if you're still active in business, meaning that you still got your Secretary of State paperwork, you still use your business name, you still do a little things on the side through your business, but does it really mean your business is succeeding? Does it really mean your business is actively moving forward and winning? Or does it just mean that you are living in an idea that you're unwilling to let go or pivot away from? Okay, so we just want to keep it 100 right there. But in this study, with these businesses that made it through the pandemic, one of the studies found that 9 out of the 10 businesses that made it through the pandemic said that the way they made it through the pandemic was they pivoted, or they figured out a new way to do business. And so if you're still doing business the same way you did it, because you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not expanding, you don't see new opportunities, you don't know how to really move in the market and make things happen, it is because you have not been willing to pivot. So there are pivots that have to be made. And if your business is not surviving and thriving and winning and growing and showing signs of real health, then guess what has to happen? Here's what has to happen. You've got to come to acceptance that I have to pivot. So again, we're not going to say you're not making money. We're not going to say your business is failing and losing. Here's what we're going to say. Are you, as an entrepreneur and business owner, and is your business succeeding to the extent that you are reaching your full financial potential? Are you making that kind of money? Are you doing those kind of numbers? Are you generating that kind of activity? If your answer is no, all right? If your answer is anywhere near no, here's what you need to say to yourself. I need to pivot. You need to say this to yourself. I need to pivot. You need to say that to yourself. Because if you're not making enough money, if your business is not generating enough revenue, if you're not getting enough new clients, if you're just kind of stuck on this treadmill and you're glitching because it's not working. I like to use the word glitching because it's like when you use certain systems and certain software and certain technology, what happens is when there's a glitch, it won't go through. You ever had to do something on certain software, or you're using a program, and then all of a sudden it seems like it's freezing and it's stuck? That's a glitch. And then you got to keep pushing reset and refreshing it for it to come back to where you are currently. Well, that's where a lot of businesses are. And guess what? It's not to down nobody. It's just to at least make sure that we are aware of where we are in our business and what we have to do in our business. Because pivoting in this post-pandemic world is going to have a lot to do with how you do business and what you do in business. Because nobody who is surviving, nobody who is thriving, nobody who is winning as entrepreneurs and as business owners are doing the same thing today that they did in March of 2020. Nobody is. So if you just look at how people are doing business from 2020, let's say March of 2020, and we're in May of 2022, if you see how people doing business here as opposed to what they were doing there, it's not the same. Of course, some things may be the same, but I can guarantee you a lot of these things are different. And it's not just with restaurants. It's not just with the airlines. It's not just with the banking industry. It's not just with the real estate market or with the automobile industry or the insurance industry. It's with a lot of different small businesses that are operating every day in the marketplace that's trying to figure out how they can move forward. Remember, there are 32 million small businesses in the United States of America. 2/3 of these businesses, 25 million businesses in the United States of America, only have one person operating those businesses. And that one person, or maybe two people, are the people or the person who owns the business. So if you are the single owner of your business and you carry the primary weight and responsibility and burden for your business to run every day, you make up 2 out of 3 businesses in the United States of America. Most of these types of businesses do not survive. They do not make it. They do not succeed. They do not last 5 and 10 years. The studies, the statistics, the surveys, the data, the numbers prove it, and they don't lie. And we have to at least come to acceptance of that so we can know we need to pivot. So if you know you need to pivot, because you know there's some areas in your business that you just need to work on. There's some things that you got to learn so you can elevate your game, so you can expand your thinking, so you can build a different mindset to be a real boss and a real business owner and a real successful entrepreneur. Then this show is going to be for you, because I have a mission, I have a vision, I have a passion, I have an assignment, I have a purpose to help people in my community. And my objective is to show you how to build successful infrastructures. That's what my objective is. So if you look at my bigger vision for life, my mission, my purpose and my passion, my assignment and my calling, outside of some of the things that you may see me do, whether it's preaching behind the pulpit, whether it's teaching or training and educating people, beyond some of those things you see me do on the surface, I have a vision, a mission for life to really help people build infrastructures, because I know when you're able to build the right business or even ministry or organizational infrastructure, everything else begins to work a little more efficient. Everything else begins to be a little more effective. So how to make a PPP, a post-pandemic pivot in your business, because you're in it right now. You're in the post-pandemic era. You are in an era, in an environment, in a climate, in a culture, in an economy that is going to demand you pivot. If you do not pivot, you're going to be crushed. The entrepreneurs and business owners and organizations that are not pivoting are the entrepreneurs, business owners, and organizations that are gonna get crushed. And most of them will not exist in 3 to 5 years. But that doesn't have to be your story if you are willing to make a pivot. So let's begin by explaining what a pivot is. What does it mean for you to pivot? What does it mean for you to pivot? To pivot means to change some aspect of your core areas. This is what it means to pivot. So if you're taking notes, I want you to write that definition down and let's talk about it a little bit. What does it mean, Ramon Preston, to pivot? What does it mean? Here's what it means: to change some aspect of your core areas. So in order for you to pivot in this post-pandemic era, you have to be willing. We're not talking about what you're able to do. I ain't got the money. I ain't got the help. I ain't got the time. All that's about what you think you're able or not able to do. We're talking about, are you willing to do it? Because some of the things that you need to do, you don't have to be able to do. We live in a world that gives you the leverage and the luxury to not be able to do it, but if you're willing to do it, you can actually get it done. There are a lot of things today that I'm doing that I personally am not able to do. But because I'm willing to do it, I'm able to put myself in a position and I'm able to pivot enough to facilitate that thing getting done, even though I'm not able to do it. Okay, let me give you an example. You're not able to fly a plane if you're not a pilot. But if you're willing to go to the other side of the country quicker than you will driving, guess what you'll do? You'll get on that plane, you'll book a ticket, you'll figure it out, because even though you're not able to fly a plane, you're willing to fly a plane. You might not be able to cook certain dishes. There's certain things you might not be able to cook. But if you're willing to eat those things, then you're willing to go pay for somebody else to do it so that you can eat it. So we're not talking about what you're able to do. You don't have to be able right now at this point in this conversation. You do not have to be able to build a successful business. You don't have to be able to make successful sales, to market yourself, to get in front of a camera, to make sure that you've got your holding company and all your paperwork situated. You ain't got to be able to do none of that. Are you willing? Are you willing to do it? And if you're willing to do it, here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to pivot. You're going to need to change some aspect of your core areas. So it doesn't mean that you're changing all aspects of these core areas. You're just willing to change some. You're willing to change some. Now, what are some of the core areas of your life? What are some of the core areas of your life? It may be your thinking. It may be your education. It may be your environment. It may be your circle of friends. It may be what you're doing every day in your profession. But if you are willing to change some aspect of those core areas, then you, my friend, are willing to make a pivot. And I'm telling you, because I've seen it within the last 2 years. I've been on the front line working with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of individuals who want to be entrepreneurs, and everybody else in between. As a business consultant, as a financial consultant and coach, I have been working, my team and I have been working with people just within the last 2 years in this pandemic era, and we have seen the success of those who have been willing to pivot. And these pivots were not easy, but these pivots were necessary because these individuals and entrepreneurs knew in order for them to change some aspect of their core areas so that they could see success, they were going to have to pivot, okay? So if you're willing to pivot, if you're willing to change some aspect of core areas of your life, let's talk about some of the things you're going to have to change, or you're going to have to like pivot in. What are some areas? We're going to go through a few areas. Number one, you're going to have to pivot in your products and services. Now again, you may not have to change all of your products and services, but you may just have to pivot. You may have to look at changing some aspect of it. So you might not have to get rid of all your products and services, but you may need to change some aspect of it. Because if your products and services are not what we might call minimum viable products and services. What does minimum viable mean? Minimum viable means that your products and services at the very least bring enough value to clients and customers that they're willing to pay for it. Okay? So that means you may have to take an assessment and evaluate if in fact your products and services, watch this, are bringing value. Because most entrepreneurs, when they look at their products and services, here's what they say. Oh, they good. They good enough to go to the market. I know it's good. I use it, but you're not the market. You're not the perfect client or the perfect customer to use as a profile for what other people are going to determine is valuable or not. So sometimes you need to get people who have a different perspective to take a look at your products and services to see if in fact they are valuable enough to demand you to be compensated on. So these would be called minimum viable products. And so you've got to be willing to pivot in your products and services. Here's another thing about products and services that you need to pivot on or change some aspect of. You don't always have to own the products that you use. So sometimes you've got to go from ownership to partnership and just use products and services that other people have already mastered. Don't you know there are millions and millions of products and services out in the marketplace every day that are making billions and billions of dollars, and there are entrepreneurs who are so egotistical and prideful and caught up in their own idea of what they want to own that they overlook an opportunity to use products and services that can actually help them grow their sales, make more money, and be financially free. So if you struggle with that, here's a question I want to ask you. Are you more committed to your ego, to your idea of owning products and services, or are you committed to success? Are you committed to helping your family? Are you committed to being financially free? Are you more committed to your dreams and desires and your legacy? Or are you more committed to your ego and your idea of controlling and owning everything when there are so many things you can use and make money on? See, there are a lot of things that I have done in my business. I have done not owning them, but I've done using them. Like my wife and I, we live by this philosophy. You know why? Because our bread and butter has always been in real estate, right? Well, guess what? In order for you to be successful in real estate as an agent or as a property manager or even an investor in today's world, it's not about ownership as much as it's about partnership, using the resources. Like most people in real estate, they don't own the whole property. They don't own the whole investment. Most people are syndicators, investors. They're just bringing the deal together, and they might get them a little percentage out the deal so other people can own it, and they're just using their relationships and their partnerships to make the deal. Even people who are agents in real estate, whether you're representing buyers or sellers, you don't own these houses. You're using these houses to make money. You're not owning these houses. But entrepreneurs, people who are in different spaces, they don't understand the value of pivoting in their mindset when it comes to products and services. So don't get so caught up on having to own this my product, this my service, this my idea, this my thing, but none of it is making any money. I would rather use somebody else's product, somebody else's service, somebody else's idea, somebody else's leverage, and make money off what they own rather than make no money off what I own. We've got to pivot, because doing that in today's world, in a post-pandemic era, you're going to fail. You're not going to succeed. So how else do we need to pivot? We need to pivot in our actions and activities. This is very critical. We need to pivot in our actions and our activities. So what do you mean? Well, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, number one. I'm talking to people who are really out there looking at opportunities and looking for ways to move forward and to be financially free. If you ain't about getting financially free, if you're not trying to create economic stability for your family, for your church, and for your community, then what I'm saying to you might not resonate with you. But if you know God has given something to you, God done put something inside of you, and you know the Spirit of God is dealing with you on a day-to-day basis, and He uses people like me to let you know it's me, especially people who are saved and who are Christians and who are in the faith community. When you listen to people like me, God be using that to show you that, oh, okay, you're not crazy. It's not like you're ungodly because you want to go get a bag to take care of your family and bring stability. It means that God is dealing with you and showing you that maybe it's time for you to pivot into other actions and activities. Like, for example, I talk to a lot of people who are in ministry, church leaders, and they're so married and romantic with the idea of doing what they do in ministry, but they don't have the financial resources to back what they want to do. And so they pray and they go to God and they say, God, please help me get what I need to get done. And then year after 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 decade goes by, and they never have the resources. And then God sends people like me along to show them that it's not like you have to abandon your ministry. It's not like you have to abandon your service to God and to His people. But what it may mean is you have to pivot into other actions and activities that promote financial growth, that promote economic growth, not just congregational growth or social growth or religious growth. You also need financial, economic, and professional growth. And so that means you've got to pivot into actions, not just plans. Most people, this is what they pivot into, another plan. So every time I talk to somebody that's an entrepreneur, it's like, I got another plan. I got this other idea. When is you going to take some action? Because it's your actions, not your plans. Hear me. Your actions, not your plans, that's going to move you out of the red of danger in this post-pandemic era and move you into the green of success. It's your actions. And then your activities. As an entrepreneur, as a go-getter, as a business owner, you have to start looking at all of your actions and activities every day. And here's what you need to start determining. Are my actions and activities non-revenue generating? Or are they revenue generating? That's what I want you to ask yourself. So when you look at your daily actions, when you look at the things you're doing every day, are the things you do every day, are they non-generating, revenue generating activities and actions, or are they revenue generating? So let me give you an example. If you have a list of people that you can call, right, and you can present to them your products and services and see if they want to do business with you. Let's say you have a list of people, but then let's say you've got some Word documents that you need to convert into PDF, right? So let's say if you got 10 people you can call, because you got their names and numbers, and you got 10 documents to convert from Word to 10 documents you can convert from Word to PDF. Which action or activity do you consider to be revenue generating activity or non-revenue generating activity? This is revenue generating activity because these real people can actually do business with you. This at some point may be valuable. At some point, it may generate revenue. But today, converting 10 Word documents into PDF are not revenue generating. I need revenue generating activities. And so a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't call the 10 people to generate revenue. They just focus on transferring 10 Word documents into PDF, which are non-revenue generating, not because they don't want to call 10 people, but because they don't know how to call. They don't know what to say to them. In other words, they have not been trained on sales. They don't have a sales process. They don't have a sales script. I've been that person before. I've sat in front of a desk before for hours and just twiddled my thumbs, hoping God will have somebody to call me. And it didn't work that way. And I had to realize that God wasn't doing some of this stuff for me. He was doing this stuff through me. So you've got to make sure that your actions and activities are revenue generating actions and activities, not non-revenue generating actions and activities. Okay, let me answer a question. I believe I have a question on one of our live platforms, and then I'll get back to some other areas. So what is the question here? What's up, my friend? Let's see here. What I've been running into is the cost of scaling the business is costing more than the original startup of the business. Do you think it's better to have higher price items or lower price items? How much of a margin should you be willing to give up to get more volume in sales? It depends if leasing the products or services makes financial sense compared to buying it. Subscription services often end up costing more than buying if you use them in perpetuity, but I understand where you're coming from. You can lease certain things like cars, etc. Okay, so the first question I hear was, do you think it's better to have higher price items or lower price items? Well, honestly, it's always better to have higher priced items, but that's going to have a lot to do to determine, that's going to have a lot to do with how you have higher value. So if your prices are higher, then your value has to be even higher. And so that means you have to take a look at your products and your services, and you've got to see how can you add more features and benefits and advantages to your products and services in order to increase the value. Because no matter what your price is, whether it's a high price product and service, whether it's a mid price product and service, or whether it's a low price product and service, your value always has to be higher than your product and service. But you've got to make sure that if your products and services are higher, that you have already done the due diligence, the homework on your perfect client profile. So who is your perfect client? Who is that person? Like, what does that person look like? So demographically, what does that person look like? Psychographically, right? Geographically, how does that person look? How does that person behave? How does that person think? Because that's going to have a lot to do to determine, is this a lower price profile of your client? Is this a mid-price profile of your client? Or is this a high price? And you got to make sure you know who that person is, because now, whatever the type of profile your perfect client has, then that's going to weigh heavily on how you price your products and services and the level of value you got to provide for them. Most of the times, you got to provide this value for them here, even before they get introduced to your products and services. So that means your marketing, your messaging, your regular communication with them has to be so valuable that they know purchasing something from you is worth it. So that's a whole process that you have to go through. I don't know if you're in any of our training programs, but we take our students and our clients through a lot of these scenarios to help polish you on this, so that your marketing can reflect what you're learning, your sales can reflect what you're learning, And you just got to get this training, and you got to get familiar with the language of this training so that it can reflect in how you're pricing and packaging and presenting your products and your services. Okay? I hope I answered that for you. So, all right, so we've covered a few things. We said in order for you to pivot, you have to change some aspect of your core areas, right? One of those areas was your products and services. Another one of those areas are your actions and activities. Here's another area, your opportunities and objectives. This is an area that you have to pivot in. Objectives. So how do I pivot or change some aspect of my opportunities and my objectives? Well, first of all, the way you pivot in your opportunities is you stop waiting for opportunities. So you cannot wait. You don't wait for opportunities. You don't look for opportunities. You create opportunities. You create opportunities, because I'm telling you, listen, if you think there's someone on this planet that's going to find you and create an opportunity for you, I'm telling you that you have already lost. You cannot wait for an opportunity. You've got to pivot from that mindset. You cannot look for opportunities. You've got to pivot from that mindset. You've got to create your own opportunities. See, everything that I ever wanted people to do for me, or everything that I was waiting and looking for other people to help me do, I had to come to a place in my life and in my mind that I created those things. And guess what? It wasn't until, I can honestly say this, it wasn't until I started creating the opportunities that I was waiting for and looking for, that opportunities actually showed up. I remember there was a time that I just wished someone would be a blessing to me. I just wish someone would sow a seed into me and recognize my service. I mean, for years, I preached the gospel. I prayed and counseled people. I led people. I trained people. I discipled people. I served people. My wife and I, we helped people in business and their personal lives, in every area of their lives. And we were struggling. We were broke. We were hoping and wishing and waiting and looking for the next opportunity. And we just thought, this is what you do. You just trust God and you just wait. Well, we had to learn that trusting God didn't mean waiting and looking for opportunities. Trusting God meant that, and means that we knew He was in us and He had given us the capacity and the capability and the bandwidth to create what other people were waiting for and looking for. And the moment we shifted our mindset, the moment we pivoted, the moment we decided to pivot and we said, you know what? We're not going to be mad at people because they don't recognize us. We're not going to be around here resenting people and upset and bitter and angry because nobody's supporting our ministry and nobody's using us for real estate and business. No, what we're going to do is we're going to take control of our own lives and we're going to create our own opportunities. And we're going to do it so much until people will want us because of the opportunities they see we have created. And guess what? We've seen that reverse, because now we got more money coming in different areas than we keep up with sometimes. But you know what? There was a time we didn't have that. And there was a time when we didn't have it. We really wanted it, but we were looking for it and waiting for it outside of ourselves. But once we started creating the opportunities, it just seemed like, man, every time you start doing good, good just start happening. It's like when you don't need money, money is always showing up. It's when you need it that it don't show up, because you got to create it. And so this is one of the pivots you have to make. You also have to pivot in your objectives. your objectives. What do you mean pivot in your objectives? The root word for objectives is object. How do you pivot in your objectives? Well, you pivot by stop looking at the old objects that you thought were important. You have to have a different objective. So now I got to look at a different object. Another word for object is target. You got to change your objective. You got to change your target. You got to change what fuels you, what drives you. What do you see when you are challenged to do something you don't want to do? If you see the same thing you saw, you ain't going to do it. But until you start seeing a different object, you ain't going to pivot. All right? What are some other pivots that need to be made? Here are some other ones. You have to pivot in your people and profiles. Man, I'm giving y'all some game today. You better take this game. How do you pivot in people and profiles? Well, first of all, in order to change some aspect of people, you got to start first with you. Look at the person you are. Do you believe that there's a better version of you that exists? Do you believe deep down inside of you there's a better you that can come out of you? If you believe that, pivot. Stop being the same person. I keep telling people this that I talk with on a regular basis. You're not going to change if you don't change. You just missed it. I said you're not going to change if you don't change. Change ain't going to change till you change, dog. Change ain't going to change till you change, boo. You got to change. What do you mean change? Change what you listening to. Change who you talking to. Change what you bringing into your mind. Change what your eyes are seeing, what your ears are hearing. Change won't change until you change. And so pivoting is about changing some aspect of people, starting with you. I got to change me. One of the biggest lessons I learned, this is a millionaire lesson for you. One of the biggest lessons I learned about becoming a millionaire and billionaire, or whatever it is you want to become. Here's one of the biggest lessons I learned. In order for me to have $1 million, I must become a millionaire within myself. And in order to become a millionaire within myself, I have to change who I am to become that person. And I had to realize that the only thing that separated me from who I was, broke at the time, not really with a whole lot of money at the time, to who I wanted to be, a millionaire, the only difference was the information I had and who I was willing to learn to become. And so once I started understanding that, oh, I have to become a millionaire to be a millionaire. I have to change who I am. I have to become a different version of myself. The moment I started working on that, I realized, oh, that's why I could never get a whole lot of money, because the version of the person I was couldn't handle that money. I needed to become a different version of myself. And then once I started becoming a different version of myself, the moment I started getting money, I realized that, oh, I'm not the same person I used to be, because I would have done different. I would have probably spent it, wasted it, ruined it. But now I'm a different version of me. So this is a pivot you got to make. But you also have to pivot in your profiles. So that means, who are the people that you're attracting? Look at the type of people, the profiles of people that you surround yourself with. Do you want to be around millionaires? Well, first of all, you got to become one. And I ain't talking about monetarily. You got to become one. You got to show, like, when I get around people, that's why everybody that work with me and for me and at my company, you can't work for me and not grow. Like, you're just not going to do it. I'm not going to let people get around me and they're not growing. You got to study, you got to learn, you got to grow. And you should be sharing things with me and saying things to me and communicating things among the members of my team, so that everybody knows, oh, you growing. Because if you ain't going to last with me long. because I'm continuing to grow. I'm continuing to evolve. I'm continuing to learn. I'm continuing to change and to pivot. And I can't have a whole lot of people around me ain't nothing but baggage because they ain't growing, they ain't learning, they ain't changing, they comfortable, they stuck. It ain't gonna happen that way. So you gotta look at changing the profiles of the people that you want in your life. I only got a few more minutes. What else do you need to pivot in? Oh, you need to pivot in your staff and your support. So let me explain to you what this means. How do you pivot in your staff and your support? Well, first of all, even if you don't have staff members, you are one of your staff. So are you in the right position? Like, I had to learn this just within the last few months. So like coming into the new year, from last year to coming into this year, I was on this journey of hiring people. I was recruiting, and I still recruit, and interning and working with people. I'm trying to find the right people to bring on. And I actually realized in that process that even though I'm the CEO, there were certain positions I was trying to fill with other people, and it really slowed my business down. It really affected the rhythm I wanted to create and the culture I wanted to create, because I needed to pivot in my staff, beginning with me. So there were certain positions that I needed to assume leadership in and not deploy that and delegate that to other people. Because when I did that, I realized that I'm looking over their shoulder trying to figure out why this thing ain't moving the way I want it to move. It's because I was not in that role. I needed to put them in a different role or have a different type of person in that role so that I can lead in that capacity, because that was going to determine the speed at which our organization moves. So you got to look at that. Look at yourself, pivot, and your support. Here's one thing that makes up your support. Like, you don't have a coach. I just don't understand for the life of me. Like, to me, I'm saying this personally, and this is my opinion, so I can voice my opinion. But I'm gonna say this personally, and this is my personal opinion, and I mean this. If you're a coach, I don't care what kind of coach you are. If you're a business consultant, if you are a leader, a speaker, or influencer, if you're in any of that capacity, so if you are a coach, if you're a speaker, if you are a leader, if you are an educator, if you are a consultant, I'm gonna say this to you, and this is my opinion, and I can almost guarantee you at some point you're gonna see what I mean if you don't see what I mean today. If you are any one of these and you do not have someone that you are actually paying money to, I'm being honest with you, and you take it how you want it. If you don't have someone that you are paying, that you are monetizing to be this to you, this is why what you're doing over here is not working. Period. I don't care how you feel about it. You can get offended, you can take it personal, whatever. I'm gonna be the one to tell you the truth. If you are coaching people, if you are a speaker, if you are a leader in any capacity, if you are trying to educate and train people and consult people, and you ain't paying nobody to be any of that to you, that's why you ain't making no money. That's why you ain't moving nowhere. Because you are hypocritical. This is hypocritical, to try to be this to other people but not have someone be that to you, because you're stingy, you're cheap, you think you know it all, your ego is in the way. Don't let that be your story. You got to pivot away from this. You have to pivot away from this. And so pivoting in your staff and support is making sure you've got people that are in your corner, that are helping you. And that's one of the things that we do here. So if you haven't been introduced to the programs that we offer here at Ramon Preston Enterprises, I want to urge you to go to RamonPreston.com. You could go to my website and you will see all the programs that we have. We have a coaching program, is called the Millionaire Mentorship Program. It's a 1-year program where my team and I, we coach you. We provide one-on-one coaching sessions with you, weekly coaching calls. We give you access to our online business and financial training university. We give you assignments. We assign you to a concierge that you can communicate with on a day-to-day basis. We give you access to workshops to teach you on how to start and structure your holding companies, how to start and structure your sales systems and processes, your marketing systems and processes, your financial systems and processes, your operational systems and processes. We literally show you as a coaching team how to put a successful, sustainable business system together. We walk you through so many different processes of how to take your ideas, turn them into products and services. We work with you on pricing your products and services, packaging them, helping you create your perfect client profile. These are all the things that we do, and we bring you into a community of people who are really pursuing 6- and 7-figure earnings. And so this is a coaching program we have. We have a training program. It's a business and financial training program. We have a training program for coaches and consultants. So if you don't know the process of coaching and consulting, and you don't have a system to use, and you don't know how to acquire clients, how to onboard clients, how to service your clients, you don't have contracts for your clients, you don't have property like intellectual property and curriculum to provide for your clients, we have a certification program for you. We have a business incubator that we come in as a consulting team and literally help you build your infrastructure out. We even have a licensing program. So I want to urge you to really go to my website, take a look at all the programs that we have available, and there's something within those programs that you can see that will help you scale your business and what you're doing to 6 figures and beyond. And maybe you've heard enough that you're convinced, hey, I need a coach like you. I need a mentor like you. I need somebody like you in my corner holding me accountable, but also motivating me and educating and training me with the right information so I can be successful. And if that's you, all you have to do is text the word millionaire to me right now, and we will actually take a few minutes and we will call you. We will walk you through a brief assessment. And what this brief assessment is going to do is help us identify with what exactly are you attempting and intending to do in your business. Maybe you have areas in your sales you need to work on, marketing. Maybe you don't have your company structured the right way. You may have heard about a holding company, but you don't understand it enough to do it the right way, and you need to do it the right way. You need to learn how to manage it. We can help you put all of these structures and systems and processes together, and we can give you time in our programs, because most of our programs are a year, and that gives you an opportunity to have enough time. And we offer payment plan options so that it's not a burden on you financially. So as you go, you grow, and as you pay, you are able to see the results in what you're paying for, because you're able to have enough time to really work all these things out in your business. So text millionaire to 404-478-7213. And even while you're texting or waiting to text, be sure to visit my website so you can see everything that we have. All of our programs are on RamonPreston.com. All of our prices, all of the benefits for our programs are there. And if there's anything you see that you have questions on, all you have to do is text millionaire to this number, and we'll reach back out to you, and we'll take some time to talk with you to assess your personal situation, your professional situation, your financial situation, your business, your ministry, whatever the things are that you want to do. And we will direct you to what program best fits your criteria, and we can get you started as soon as possible. So I love all of you. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the show. I hope that we're giving you as much value as we possibly can. It takes nothing from me and from the success of my business to share all of this important, valuable information with you. It really does my heart well when I hear people tell me on a regular basis that what you're sharing is helping me. I've had people to tell me that have never bought anything from me that I've never seen anyone that answers questions like you do, give information for free like you do, and we don't even buy anything from you. Well, guess what? You still got to live knowing that I helped you. So that's a win for me and for my company and for all of us. It's a win for our community. It's a win for our culture. So I love all of you, appreciate all of you. Feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to help you. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here on the Ramon